I'm Abhi.
And we are Enigma Consulting.
So for our agenda today, we will first start off our presentation by identifying the problem. Then we will be supporting our alternative choices with our qualitative and the quantitative analysis. Next, we will be presenting our alternatives. Then we will be describing our decision and what steps are needed to implement that decision. Finally, we will be ending off our presentation with your questions. So for our problem, the main problem is based on two key factors here. The first one being the declining oil prices in the region of Alberta. And the second one is that the prices of the shares are being sold at prices lower than that of the market value. So the company is kind of being valued as an undervalued company. And that leads to the company questioning themselves whether they should continue to operate, restructure the business, or completely dismantle it.
So some of the strengths that Spruceland Properties has is that they do have a very positive impact in the community, both socially and economically. So whatever decision that they do decide to make, it will be received well by the community because they've already built that rapport in Slave Lake. And also they have been in business since 1969. And I believe that being in business for that long and being profitable for that long is very impressive. And 75% of the shareholders are local, so being a social enterprise, that is another huge bonus for the company. Some of the weaknesses that Spruceland Property has is that there is a large gap between the asset and the market value, which is unfavorable. And the shares are very illiquid, meaning they're very hard to sell. And also for the growth that the company has experienced, it hasn't really been structured for that type of growth. So,
low interest and capitalization rates are great opportunities for Spruceland Properties to continue their profitable business. It does, however, have some disadvantages. Appraisals going up is also a great opportunity for Spruceland to actually dismantle their business, because when appraisals are going up, they're going to have higher prices for their properties and they're going to be making more profit than what they bought the properties for. There are a couple of threats that they face, the biggest threat being the unstable economic condition. As you know, most of the Albertan economy runs on oil and gas prices, and when the gas prices and oil prices go down, the economy goes down with it, so they don't really have a backup plan of what to do when the economy is down. Unhappy shareholders is also another threat they could possibly face in the event of dismantling the company. The shareholders can get unhappy because of all the social involvement that they have within the community. So this is the Western Texas Intermediate Oil Price graph. As you can see, from 2013 to 2015, the oil prices dropped from $100 a barrel to about $50 a barrel. That is 50% of the oil prices that have dropped. And as you can see from the trends of the graph, from 2006 to 2008, the price hiked up all of a sudden and then dropped all of a sudden. This shows that the economy is really unstable, and it directly correlates to property prices as well, because when the economy is down, the property prices, nobody's going to buy the properties, they're going to go down, and the asset values are going to go down. The next graph is for the share values and the dividends of the company. The dotted line here shows the actual book value of the shares, and the circled line here shows what the shareholders are trading the shares at. So this also has about a 50% margin between those two. So it shows that the shares are currently going on for 50% less than what the market value is.
So for the gap analysis, I'll be talking about where the company currently is at and where they want to be in the future, and as well as how they are planning to get there. So for us, where they currently are, with the economic slowdown, and as Nabil previously mentioned, the oil prices and obviously the shares being traded at prices lower than that of the market value, again, they're reconsidering whether they should stay in business, continue operations, to restructure the firm, or to completely dismantle it. On the other hand, as where they want to be in the future, being a social enterprise corporation, they not only care about their profits, but they also do care about the 75% of their locally based shareholders, and they do want to leave them happy. So that leads to them implementing the decision that would leave the Slave Lake community being appreciative and have like a good respect towards the company at the end. And in the future slides, we'll be talking about how we'll be getting it. For the alternatives, the first one is to continue operations, and it obviously has both advantages and disadvantages, with the main advantage being that, as per the financial statements provided to us by Spruceland Properties, we can see that their numbers in assets and their overall cash flows were increased compared to the previous year. However, and that does show that they are more profitable than to what they were in the previous year. However, on the other hand, for the disadvantages, as Nabil also previously mentioned, the economy is not really stable, so that could potentially lower the chances of them being as profitable as they have currently been in the future.
So the alternative is to restructure the company. There are two ways that this can be done. The first way is to turn the company into a public company so that the shareholders are able to trade the shares on the exchange market. This also has a disadvantage that the company is not big enough right now. The shares are not going to be as profitable in the exchange market because they don't have that much market share. The second way to restructure the company is to move it from the Alberta region into a separate region, a different region, so that they don't have to face the unstable economic conditions of the Albertan economy. This has a disadvantage too, that is that the costs of this will be too high and the profits would come in the long run and they won't be able to make that much money in the short run.
And another alternative that we could go with is to dissolve the company fully. So the decision that we decided to take is to dismantle the company fully. Some of the reasons being is if we were to restructure and go public, the problem is that the company just is not large enough and it's not attractive enough for investors to be in such a small market. And as Amir and Nabil mentioned, that the economic condition isn't favorable. As we can see that the northern Alberta economy especially, it's not diversified enough. So it is very subject to these boom and bust cycles, which makes it increasingly risky to be in business there. And also as we see more societal and policy changes within the last 10-20 years going towards more renewable energy and green technology, our firm believes that the future is headed towards more solar, wind, geothermal technologies as the technology has been advancing and getting much better. For example, like electric cars and battery technologies. So we believe that the future is going towards that direction, and that's why we chose to dismantle.
So the implementation process is supposed to go over a course of 3 years. There are 5 different steps to this. Number 1 is to invite in the shareholders. This is one of the most important steps because you want to make sure that the shareholders know of the decisions you're making, and with they being a social corporation, they need to go back on the foundations and let them know what's going to happen. The second step is gradual dismantling. We don't want to sell all of our properties at once. There is an offer on the table that we can sell our properties to. We recommend that we sell about 50% of our properties right now, and we look at the forecasting for a future date because as shown in the previous oil graphs, the forecasting says that the economy, the oil prices and the gas prices will go up, which relates to the economy, so the economy prices will go up. So we can sell the rest of our properties at the future date. The next step will be getting approval from Alberta Securities Commissions. This is so that we can discontinue being a reporting issuer. And the last step would be to distribute cash per common share. That should be done in the later stages of the implementation process, preferably in the 3rd year, so that we are getting all of our money from the sale of our properties so that we can give it back to the shareholders. We also have some excess cash in reserve that will be used to pay the shareholders when we are not operating, when we are trying to dismantle our company, so that they're not left alone.
So just to recap what we've been going through, we started in a position of a lot of uncertainty. The board is facing, should we continue, should we restructure, or should we dismantle the company? The decision we went with is we chose to dismantle the company and sell off our assets gradually. And we've got to a point where we have successfully dismantled and we've sold our assets at the highest possible value, ensuring that our shareholders can get the highest possible payout at the end of the dismantling stage, and then we move on from there.
So that's all we have for you guys today. Thank you for listening to us, and if you guys have any questions, please proceed.
Teresa always starts out because she's the smartest. Next to Vicky.
Financially, which would, like, you seem to present a lot of like the overall reasons, big picture reasons for choosing to dissolve, but financially, did you analyze the options, like from a numbers standpoint?
Did you look at numbers?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did.
What kind of number analysis did you do?
So we were looking at the financial statements. We looked at the assets and the liabilities, whether they're going up or not. So the assets were going up, the cash flow was really good, and overall they were a very profitable company. However, we kind of emphasized more on the economic aspect of it, and
Okay.
we were mainly looking at the oil asset because it's kind of like it trickles down from oil because northern Alberta especially is very dependent on that asset and for the prosperity, and because the success of Spruce Land Properties is very linked to that.
How is it linked?
It's linked because a lot of the jobs in that region is associated with the oil industry.
Okay,
So-
so it's not just that they're leasing to them, it's that, you know what I'm saying? They have the buildings
The
in Slave
reason,
Lake that they actually lease to, you know, some oil and gas companies, and then you have housing, right?
The thing is that if you wanted to look at it as an investor kind of perspective, let's say I'm the investor and I want to come into the Alberta region to invest my money into it, start up a business even maybe. Obviously, Alberta is mainly based on oil, right? So I would be looking at the economy of how Alberta is generally doing. And since Alberta is mainly depending on oil, I would prefer not to go if the economy is not doing as good. So then that will be kind of influencing whether Spruce Land Properties will have enough like people to rent out or lease their properties to.
Right.
So that would be kind
and the reason they started their business in the first place was that the economy was booming in the northern region. They
Yes.
were in need for more housing communities and for more townhousing communities. That's why they started the business in the initial phase.
Okay, so if it's not booming,
Yeah, it's a big it's a huge problem.
It seems like the goal of this organization was initially set up at a time without economic development, to create economic development in the region, to provide better housing and to spring on. And do you find it against the goals of the organization to dissolve right at the moment when economic development is about to be most needed?
needed. How are you gonna sell that to the shareholders?
Yeah.
So that is a really good question, because it did start off as a social enterprise. Like
Yes.
basically what we want to do is to present our findings and our analysis in such a way that our shareholders can understand what we're trying to do. We would rather get out of a situation, bad situation earlier than later, because in the future, if everything goes down, if
Yes.
all the prices go down, it'll be even worse, because then the value of their shares will be maybe zero
Yeah.
or much lower than what it currently is. So we believe it's better to get out earlier rather than later in that
But I am
scenario.
gonna say something to you. Look at your graph. In 2008 to 2009, huge drop.
Exactly.
And they stayed. And they stayed. They didn't bail then. Why are they gonna bail now?
The reason for that is because that was a sudden drop. It dropped directly from 2007 to 2008.
And much of that was because of the global financial crisis as well.
I think what Vicky's saying is they didn't cash in and go out of business then, they persevered through, so.
They kept through, they kept going.
Yeah, but then, sorry to
No,
interrupt.
Yeah.
There it was a sudden drop, right?
Yes.
So obviously expecting a sudden drop, you don't expect it to constantly keep going lower and lower. You expect it to higher up at some point. And then so as it came up, it started to get more
Okay.
into the positive side rather than that. Here also it did drop. I'm not saying that it didn't drop, but like if you look at it in the future and in the forecast of what's going to happen, you
It's
kind
not,
of see
there's
it's
no
kind of
hope.
becoming stable at that lower point.
And the
Read the
reason for
last
that,
question?
no, go ahead.
the reason for that is that there was a sudden hike right before the drop as well. So they weren't expecting it to just keep on dropping. They expected it to increase a bit. But over here, it hiked a bit and then it dropped it again. And there wasn't as a big hike of the prices as it was
Okay,
on those years.
Do you have the last question?
No, I'm good, I'll save it for that
yours.
commentary. Cheers. What's up?
Okay, we'll
Okay.
see you in 5.
Thank you for your
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah.